Welcome back to the War Room, powered by Prep Baseball. This is a recruiting essentials episode, new age recruiting. And yes, there are more schools than just the SEC from all the haters out there who are letting me know that I was being too biased. We have on the great Billy O'Connor today from Xavier, head coach of the Musketeers there in Cincinnati. Coach O'Connor, welcome to the show.
What's up, Shooter? How are you? Appreciate you having me on.
I am doing great. I like to say, people like talk about mid majors. Xavier to me is a power major. We put those in the upper echelon. I was going through what your statistics, essentially your coaching statistics. One, the Cincinnati Steam back in 2012 Summer League Coach of the Year. Like, kudos to you on that. You can come into your recruiting coordinator extraordinaire at Xavier, 3 or 4 years, Big East champions. You become the head coach. You guys been in the top 4. It seems like every year. I'm waiting for that sneaky Xavier to Omaha train to get going. But awesome stuff. For those of you around the country who do not know the Xavier Musketeers, they are producing some really awesome players, developing them in program, grabbing guys from all around the country. Billy's one of the top recruiters in the entire country. So there you go. Not to give you too big of a head there, Billy, but awesome stuff.
Yeah, set the bar pretty high for the rest of this podcast. But no, I appreciate you saying that, and we're excited about where we're at, and still tons of work to do, and we've got a pretty high ceiling and a lot of things to accomplish here. But we're excited, and I appreciate you saying that.
Very mellow from your playing days, and you were a catcher, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And you could see in the leadership capability, just your ability to handle the pressures of the game. You're always so calm when I see you in the dugout. And one big thing about
you must not have watched too much then. Did you not see the clip that was circulating when I was at LSU last year when I got dumped? But sometimes I tried.
That was. I think I texted you right after that. It was warranted. You did it. It was warranted. So I respected every second of it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But and you talk about being at LSU. One of the big things I love about your program is you're not scared to go play guys. Like, some guys you want to shy away. We're trying to get wins here, trying to go here. You guys just strap it on in February. You say, let's go, because we want to prepare for Big East play. Is that something you take into account yearly?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, we say it all the time, but we will play anybody, anywhere. You know, we want to play the best of the best, and I think that's how you're going to grow individually, and that's how you're going to grow as a program. And to me, quite honestly, it's kind of a weird way to think and a weird thing to say, but I want our guys to encounter adversity, right? That's where growth happens, is through adversity. If everything's easy, if you never hit any adversity, like you're really not going to see what your ultimate ceiling is, what your ultimate potential is. When you get punched in the mouth, that's when you learn what you need to do to get better. So again, I wish we would go 56-0. That's not realistic for anybody, and it's especially not realistic with the schedule that we put together every year. But yeah, we're going to be challenged, and we're going to play in the best environments we can against the best programs we can. And, you know, we use that in the recruiting process a lot. I think there are kids that are very driven to be a part of that. And then I think there's kids that are more interested in kind of the easy way out. How do I rack up easy stats, easy wins? Mm-hmm. That's not us. You know, we're going to be battle tested, and I think we're going to be better for it in the long run.
Has that helped from the recruiting side of things? Because you do such a great job. You're coast to coast everywhere. There's a lot of times where you'll have these little secret pocket guys. You guys had I think it was a Friday night guy. Was it last year? The kid from Colorado who was hurt. Like, I think I texted you during the season, like, how did you find this guy? Because I go down rabbit holes. Like, this guy's dominated at LSU right now. Who is this guy? Oh, wow. He was hurt his sophomore and junior year in Colorado. How the heck did Billy know about this guy? But you make that schedule coast to coast. Does that help you in recruiting?
Oh, yeah, it's a huge recruiting tool. You know, quite honestly, a lot of the kids that we recruit want to be playing at LSU, want to be playing at Tennessee or Stanford or whoever it may be, right? And most kids grow up with those intentions. Mm-hmm. Not everybody gets a chance to, right? So what's the next best thing? Like, well, going into LSU and showing you, man, maybe you should have recruited me, or going into Stanford or Vanderbilt or Tennessee or whoever, maybe you should have recruited me. And like I said, it's a competitive thing too, right? I love challenges, right? The beauty of sport to me is knowing that you've got to earn something. If you just show up and roll the balls out and collect your win like that, there's not a whole lot of fun in that to me, you know. And I think that that's part of the identity of our team and our culture, is that guys that love challenges. You know, it's not easy to go to LSU or to Vanderbilt, and it's not easy collectively to do all those things weekend after weekend after weekend throughout the course of the season. But there's a certain kind of player that's drawn to that, and I think that's the kind of guy we're looking for within the program. So yeah, 100% is something we use within the recruiting process.
Now, how deep? Let's dive into more of that recruiting process. That how deep do you dive into like the personality of the kid, the makeup? Because from our ranking status, like top 500 in the country, like Xavier's going to have a bunch of dudes in there. And a lot of the times, what I've noticed historically, and we are on the road a lot together watching players, you do such a great job evaluating, is I really like this guy. And he may not be famous, right? There's a lot of kids who, at 12, they come up with USA Baseball, whatever it may be, and they continue that fame. And they're also very good. You seem to find those guys, hey, maybe they're a late bloomer. This guy blows up late. What are you looking for? What defines, hey, this is the Billy O'Connor Xavier baseball player?
Yeah, I think it's the guys that stand out with the way they play the game. The longer I do this, the more it really is. The intangibles are so important. Like, yeah, you want guys that are talented, right? You're not going to win games with 35 nice guys that stink at baseball. But also, like, the margin of difference between, okay, this guy throws 92 versus 91, like that's not really a championship difference. A lot of it is the intangibles of how do you handle adversity? What kind of teammate are you? What kind of work ethic are you? And the part that's tough for us is, you guys don't rank that, right? PBR does an unbelievable job of 60 time and exit velo and blast and bat speed and every metric that you can possibly take in. And those things are important, right? That's part of the process. But to me, the most important thing you can do in the recruiting process as a coach is evaluate all the other stuff, is really be deep with how you approach this. I try to, I sidle up right next to the dugout as close as I possibly can. Like, I want to hear how guys interact with their teammates. I want to hear how they interact with their coaches. I want to hear how they deal with umpires, how they deal with adversity. Like, those things are really important. And then you do background with the high school coaches and summer coaches. Like, what kind of kid is this? Is he a leader? Does he work hard? Does he want to be great? And those are the kinds of things that really, when you focus on those, they're difference makers. They're difference makers for an individual of, man, how far are you going to make it? How are you going to handle the adversity that is inevitably coming your way as a baseball player? And also, if you can do that collectively as a group, like, man, you're tough to beat. You can't be beat down when you're just so tough mentally that nothing phases you. So to say that we're perfect with that, no, we aren't, but like it is something where I think you can find a market inefficiency. If you're Tony at Tennessee or Jay at LSU, like, and those guys are great. And obviously they've won the past 2 national championships. And I'm not saying anything negative about their programs, but like, you have to take the best player you can, right? You have access to him. You have access to the guy that's 97 out of high school. We don't always have access to that. So how do we make up the difference? How do we get players that are capable of competing against LSU and Tennessee? Well, we've got to find the intangibles that really stand out, right? Guys have to have some ability. You guys have to have some projectability, continue to get better. But can we find the guy that's going to work so hard that there's no possible outcome besides success? And I think that's an important part of the process for teams at our level, and not just us, but a lot of the other teams that have had a lot of success at our level.
It feels like, can you extend your timeline for a kid's progression? Where you talked about the SEC, where, hey, it's really imperative to win right now. Whereas, hey, we can take this kid as a junior commit and plan for him like, hey, this is what we're looking at sophomore year. Maybe your freshman summer, we're getting neat, and kind of lay out a longer timeline. Is that something you think you can do there?
For sure. It's a fine line to walk, because we certainly don't want to sell to kids like, man, we don't really care about winning around here. We just, we're just, slowly developing. Like, we want to win. We want to win big. We want to win championships. We want to go to Omaha. We want to do all those things. But, the next time I look on Twitter and see somebody calling for my job after we lose will be the first, which is nice, so there's not that gun to the head pressure every single game that we have to win every single game. So can there be a little bit longer leash with somebody that we believe in, not just from an ability standpoint, but also from a potential standpoint? Yeah, I do think there's a little bit longer leash here. And ultimately, for kids that want to develop and want to reach their full potential, you got to play. That's what it comes down to, and I do think that we can offer that avenue a little bit more clearly than some of the top of the food chain might be able to.
Now, you talked about Twitter a little bit. You talked about the metrics that we've delivered, really committed a lot to the advanced technology. And I've talked about this with some of the past coaches, recruiting coordinators, is how do you sift through identifying players? And like you talked about, I love to get right next to the dugout, the intangibles, the in-person ability, but like identifying guys happens long before you get to the field. Is that something? How do you guys go about identifying guys? I'm thinking more of the 27 class that you can't talk to. Even the 26 is a bit right now. What's the process right now leading through the summer?
Yeah, for sure. Right now, this is really the name collection part
Mm.
of the year, and really my best vehicle for that is Twitter, and really the best vehicle on Twitter for that is PBR. The different state rankings and the national rankings and whatever shooter's tweeting out is probably somebody that's a pretty good player. So yeah, this is name collection time. We started to kind of look at 27s a little bit last year, but the way things are set up and our inability to be able to communicate with that class, it doesn't make a ton of sense for us to sit on 27s last year. So now we're starting to figure out who's who, right? Who's going to the showcases in February, who used November, December, January, February to work and develop and get better.
Yeah.
And who went from, 83 at that last fall event, and now they're popping 89, 90, 91, 92 early in the spring. And it's like, okay, we need to go see them during the high school season if they're local, or we need to go see them in the summer as soon as possible. We need to make sure they're on our radar. So we're starting that process with 27s, and quite honestly, PBR is the best way for us to start to accumulate those names and start to map out what our summer is going to look like.
Yeah, I keep following you too, though, because I know that if Billy's on this guy, there must be something good about that. That's what I've discovered quickly, being next to you.
I've got one of my former assistants, and I won't name him. That the happiest day of my life was when the Twitter likes went private because he couldn't follow who I was recruiting anymore on Twitter. Right? Shout out Matt Rada.
Oh man, you know what? I was kind of bummed about that too, because I had some others like, oh, this guy is on here. This is a peek behind the curtain for a lot of recruits. Like, this is what was going on. Who's on this? Because as coaches, and I don't find this with you, it's having the confidence to know my evaluation is good. What validates it for you? Are you just so like, hey, this has been successful? Who are guys who helped you and kind of taught you to get to where you are? Because I always think like good players make good coaches, right? We can do a lot of good things, but like in the end, we got to have some good players on the field to be good. So who has helped you get to the point where, hey, I can identify this guy's going to be good?
Yeah, I've been super, super fortunate to work with an awesome coaching staff throughout my coaching career. Coach Googans, who I worked for forever, who I played for forever, really molded me as a coach, I think. Nick Oddie was the recruiting coordinator at Xavier when I first took over, or when I first came in here as an assistant, and he taught me a lot. And then a lot of the guys that I've worked with as assistants, Matt Rada and Austin Kuzno and Jake Yasnes and Joey Bellini currently. John DeLora was a brief stint with me. All these guys, they've helped mold me into who I am, and I think we've worked together, and I think that it's there's no easy metric, right? There's no check box where it's like, okay, this guy, yep, that's going to be perfect. So there's always going to be an aspect of, you got to trust your gut on this one. And I think that, again, the more I do this, it is like, it's a gut feel, and I know that's a thing in the scouting world too, where it's like, this is my gut guy, and you do have to trust that. And once again, I know I keep going back to it, but it is the intangible piece. Like, how do you connect with this kid when you talk to him on the phone, when you watch him play? Is it like, this is what it's about. This is what we're looking for. And I think you have to trust that as much as you do trust okay, he throws 92 and he runs a 6.7 or whatever it may be. You got to trust your gut on a lot of things. And I think that the more you do this, the more comfortable you are. And listen, I don't get them all right. I certainly don't. But I do think that when you really have that gut feeling, it works out more often than not.
Incredible coaching tree, and having talked with Kuz was one of the first guys we talked to. I'll talk to John DeLore soon. Like, you're building quite the tree there in reputation at Xavier. Those phone calls, you talk about the gut feel. Okay. On the phone, and I can remember going through the process. We were the same year on the phone call, trying to be buttoned up, right? Like, yes, sir. Like, no personality, to where when I went to the coaching side of things, and then having talked to you guys on the road so much, having that personality and just being yourself seems so important to a recruit. Like, when you get on the phone, you don't have to be, yes, sir, scared. Hey, this guy wants to know that for 3-4 years, you're going to be a dude that we can be around, that's going to bring it to the field. What types of conversations do you like having on the phone with recruits?
Yeah, you said it exactly. Be a normal person, and like, I'm a person. I'm not the best coach in the world, but I do like to think I'm a fairly normal person. Like, I like watching sports. I like to play fantasy football. I love, like everything that, like, I just
Yeah.
want to talk, and see what these kids are about. And those are the kids that you do identify with really quickly, that you feel like you can make a connection with and have a conversation with. Like, man, so much of this deal is relationships, right? That's what I love doing what I do, is to be able to build relationships with kids and really connect with them on a personal level. Obviously, we want to develop them as a baseball player and take them to the next level and help them reach their full potential. But really, my calling as a human being, as a coach, is to help these kids grow as a human being, as a man, as a person, and send them out into the real world whenever that may be ready to go. I can't do that if I can't connect with them. So that takes a lot of work on our end as coaches to make sure that we're able to connect with these guys. But also, if you put up a wall to a coach and like you are just yes sir, no sir, and sometimes you do have calls with kids and it's like playing 21 questions, like pulling teeth trying to get anything. It's like, okay, all right, I asked my 25 questions in 2 minutes and the call's over. And then there's other kids you talk to and it's like you feel like you could talk to them forever. The kids you got that you connect with, those are the ones that that they do feel good. It does, it is that gut feel kind of thing that, man, I'd like this kid to be in the program for 3 or 4 years. So yeah, be normal, be yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like cussing and talking about girls or whatever, but like just be a normal person. We want to see who this person is, and sometimes it's tough to really identify that if it is intimidating. And I get it, right? Like there's some big name coaches out there that you see on TV, and it probably is intimidating to talk to them when you're 16 or 17 years old. But I think the ability to be relaxed in that setting is also a quality that we're trying to identify. Like, yeah, this kid's confident. This guy's got something to him that, it's not scary for him to talk to a head coach of a Division I program.
It's amazing how many guys I talk to, and you'll see like the talent level. This kid out on the field, he's unreal. How is he not committed? And like they'll be like, he's kind of a strange kid.
Yeah.
Like, or it's wild how much that matters. So the recruits out there, like understanding, hey, this is a job interview. You don't want to be an awkward guy to your future, I don't want to say boss, but like your future head coach. Like just get on there, talk about your interests. Like you just said it, fantasy football, which afterwards I got to ask you about this huge Bengals game this weekend. If the Browns, like what's going to go on there, but it is so important, just the makeup aspect of things. And especially in this new age of all this data analytics, right? You can just be behind a wall, sitting at your screen. I mean, I do it a ton out here in Portland where, hey, you're looking at this swing. I have the data metrics. This is what I have here. Why am I going out all spring, all summer? Well, I got to put the in-person account to this. Is this guy going to be able to handle failure? What is his thought process on deck? How confident is he in his approach to what he's done, his process? There's plenty of guys where you go to a game and, hey, this guy for a weekend went over 10, but his process was there. He brought it the entire time. There are positives to take away from that versus, hey, this guy went 4 for 4 today. The team won 20-0. Like there can be negatives on that side of things too. And it sounds to me like that's stuff that you're locked in on. And I'm taking notes on that because I got to be following the Billy O'Connor way.
100%. Kids get caught up in results, and as crazy as it is, results really don't matter that much in the moment, right? Big picture, right? If you're 0 for 100, like, okay, those results kind of matter. But like we see a lot of things, and sometimes you never root against a kid, but sometimes you learn a lot more about a kid on a bad day, right? If they go 0 for 4 and maybe it's a bad call by the umpire and it's a line out and a couple easy outs or whatever, and it's like, yeah, still run out to their position, still go play good defense, still a great teammate. Like, man, that says so much about that kid, way more than a swinging bunt, a blooper, and a one-line drive where they think they're king of the world, So, yeah, results are a small part of it, but there's so much more that goes into the evaluation process.
I love the quiet confidence, the moxie. Like there's subtle things. I'll be out at games, and I can still remember the past couple of years, like some kids are just have to be loud, like reinforce. Like I'm not sure, like that was a changeup, whatever they're turning around to give the changeup, and like I can remember one kid on deck. And he signed for like $1 million last year. And he was just like, gave like a little smirk, like, yeah, we all know what it was. Like, chill, bro. Like it was like very fascinating to me, but like, those are the subtle things that if I'm at a game, that's what I'm looking for. Like, oh, his ability to make an adjustment at the plate mid at bat, his ability to shift himself on defense to know where things are going to be. Like those are the things we're looking at beyond just, hey, group fastball, BP hitting home runs.
Yeah. 100%. And you said it, but you win with confidence. You have to have confident guys within the program, and that is something you can pick up. And it's such a fine line between confident and cocky, and there's some overlap there. But you want guys that think they're going to be great, and that's how you get to being great.
And talk about even the high school season, going out to see guys like you said. Hey, we're going out to see, and I love going out because a lot of times that spring season will bring pressures that the summer does not have, and I like to say to our guys internally when we're pressing, going through those rankings, like, is this a guy? Does this guy believe it? Is it innate to him? Can he walk into Pasco Park in the Big East Championship in the 8th inning and get an out? Is he going to go into the box and be able to get an out in the 7th inning when there's 10,000 people screaming at him? And that's so important to me is that's something that when you go to the high school games, hey, we're looking at, there's a little pressure on this guy. Let me see how he reacts.
Oh yeah, you love the pressure situations because whatever kids have done, and obviously future games is great because there is some pressure there, and that's something that most of them have experienced to that point. And then area code and all the main events, but not everybody gets a chance to participate in those, right? So where can they feel any amount of pressure? Because as you climb the ladder, right, as you get to Xavier, it's going to be a higher pressure. As you get to the Big East tournament, it's going to be higher pressure. As it gets to NCAA tournament, even more pressure. And then when you get to professional baseball, it's even more pressure. So those small tidbits, you might get one chance where you see, like, how does this kid react in a big moment? Does he look confident? Again, not even results, but like, does he look like he's ready? He loves this moment. Those are the guys you want, And again, like you said, or like I said, with future games, like, that's awesome. Like,
yeah.
There's kids that like take off and it's like, man, he is the alpha here. Like, those are the kind of guys you want. And there's kids that like, they get scared, and that's a natural, and that's not it's not a black mark forever. Right. But it's a experience you learn and you grow from. And it's the adversity I talk about where it's like, okay, I didn't handle that very well. How do I change? How do I get better that the next time that opportunity comes up, I'm ready for it.
I love the future games because there's 400 coaches right on BP locked in.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to look for is like a kid who's like first swing and second swing might not be good. Like, you miss. If you swing and miss, it's an opportunity to recover.
That's
because there's a lot of pressure on you all of a sudden after 2 bad swings, right? You got 15 kids waiting for their turn. It's almost like we're around Christmas time now. The Christmas Story, when the kid goes up to like try to get or tell Santa what the gift is, and he's like stuttering, like, hey, we got all these guys waiting for you right now. How do you recover there, though? It's one of my favorite things, even bad BP throwers. So, like, a kid who can adjust his barrel in BP and still make loud contact, right? Most kids, like, hey, we're grooving one spot, boom, yeah, I can hit. All of a sudden, it's a bad pitch. Some kids spin off, don't do it. The kid who can adjust and actually, it's like he's riding a bike, boom, 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 doesn't matter where you're putting the ball. That says a lot to me. That's
no, 100%. And like, I think there's some of these things that like you can do all the mental work, but like it's innate, right? Can you handle the moment? And those are the kind of guys you're looking for. And it's funny you started talking about BP. So I was lucky that when the All-Star game was in Cincinnati in 2015, I got to throw BP during the home run derby to the high school participants, right? And I throw BP every single day. Like, I love throwing BP. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Catchers.
Yeah. And then there's an opportunity to throw BP in front of 45,000 people. And it's like, oh my God, I'm nervous, and there's nothing you can do to prepare. It's just how you respond to that. Same deal, right? Innately, I think I handled it okay. Innately, some kids show up to future games and like they get the juices going in the right way of like, man, I handled this and I thrive in this situation, right? Those are the kind of guys we're looking for because there's going to be big moments for us at Xavier when we're playing at Vanderbilt this year, when we're playing against Oregon State, when we're playing against Stanford or any of the good teams. We play a million good teams on the schedule. And then when we get to the conference tournament, then when we get to the NCAA tournament, you can't afford to fail, and then learn. There's some guys that just, they live for the moment,
Yeah.
And those are the kind of guys, again, when you go back to the intangibles, you try to identify. It's tough to do because you don't get a million reps to grade it out, and you can't go to PBR or any of those places and see what is their moment score, but you got to watch, right? And you got to be able to read body language. And that's where I think that's where you can make the difference in the recruiting process.
Who are the guys that can be comfortable being uncomfortable? What about like the future of recruiting? Are there any things that you see on the horizon? And you can even dive into like the way you balance transfer portal, which you have to be in on. At this point, there's going to be guys going back and forth. What are you looking at with that with regards to freshmen incoming? Where are we headed within the college baseball recruiting sphere?
Yeah, I mean, old is good, and that's old wins for the most part.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we aren't going to recruit high school kids, and people are going to stop recruiting high school kids. In fact, we always tell kids, like, the core of what we do is always going to be through the high school ranks. That's what we want to do. We're going to supplement through the transfer portal. But I think the core of what we do, for two reasons: A, we trust our development. We were very proud of our development. And I think when you have kids for a long time, you can really implement your development. And B, for the culture piece. I think the more you can keep a core of guys together, that culture becomes sustainable. And everything that I've ever tried to do here at Xavier is sustainable success. I don't want peaks and valleys. I don't want, man, we win 45 games and then we win 15 the next year. I want to be really, really, really good every year. And I think sustainability is a big part of that. And I think the culture and the development are big parts of being sustainably good. But yeah, the future is changing. There's no doubt about it. It's significantly more difficult to be a Division I baseball player moving forward than it's been in the past. It's significantly more difficult to be a Division II, a Division III, a college baseball player than it has in the past. The spots are reducing, and that's going to be a challenge for kids. But I think that the good thing is that we know where we're headed, and it becomes imperative for high school kids to really, 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 really work hard and really reach their potential as soon as possible, because very few schools have the runway to say, hey, shooter, you know what? We think that by the time you're a junior, you're going to be a contributor for us. Like, we need guys to come in and play right away. And that's at Xavier, right? So you can understand what it feels like to be Tony Vitello or Jay Johnson, what their pressures are. Like, you have to be a guy right away for the most part. So for high school kids, adjust, right? There's no like, I'm going to ease my way in, and I'll get stronger when I get to college, and I'll start eating better when I get to college, and I'll lift more and I'll hit more. And you've got to start today. If you're a sophomore in high school, if you're a junior in high school, if you're a senior in high school, you have to be ready to go. And you don't have to be a finished product, but you got to be a contributor. That's the way we're viewing things right now. We don't have time or space for guys that can't be contributors in some way, shape, or form. With a 34-man roster, there's going to be some injuries along the way. Nearly every person on that roster is going to have to play. They might not be the Friday guy. They might not be the starting shortstop, but they're going to have to contribute at some point through the course of the season. And you can't have unplayable guys. So yes, you don't have to be a finished product from day one, but man, you've got to push yourself to your limits from the start, and that's how you're going to be able to really make it a Division I player and really survive as a Division I player.
Yeah, it's signing day is not a destination.
No.
It's just, to me, it's, hey, you almost are mapping out. And I even think about, we put out our draft prospect rankings and stuff like that. Like, draft day is not the end. Like, you almost have to look at things at like a 10, 15 year scale. So if you're a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school, by the time you're trying to win national titles at Xavier, this is like 6 years away. So what is the process for you to get there? Not the process just for you to get to the next year, but like, how do you get better each day, each year, each season, so that when you're getting on campus, like you're talking about, and I've had other coaches, that maybe it was Kuz or Noah in the past, like, go to a college game, see what the physicality is like of these guys. It's remarkable. Like, I'm sure your guys are big, strong, fast. Like that's how it is.
100%. And the thing that I think that the kids need to keep in mind is, when you come in as a 19-year-old freshman, you are competing for playing time against guys that are 22, 23, 24. And God only knows how old they're going to be with this new junior college ruling that came out yesterday. So you're not competing. You don't have to be the best, hardest working kid at Elder High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. You've got to be the hardest working kid at Xavier, even though you're not there and you're 2 or 3 years away. So how do you speed up that process? To me, I like you said, I think watch games, see what it looks like. The speed of the game, the strength, it's different in college than it is in high school, right? And the closer you can get, the better off you're going to be when you get here.
It's so important. And from the position player side, and my studies, hey, these guys have had success, like getting at bats. You can't afford to sacrifice at bats, whether that's in the summer. Charlie Condon was like a perfect example of me. Didn't play, redshirted his freshman year. He went to the Northwoods League and got like 300 at bats in a summer. Like, that was huge for him. Versus there's always some kids like, oh, he played off and on as a freshman. I used to tell my freshmen, like, freshman year stinks.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing worse, because you're not really playing. or you were getting some spot starts. Everybody at home's like, how's school going? Like, well, it stinks. My classes stink. I don't get to play. I got to carry the bucket. I tamp the mound. Like, hey, guess what? But for me, and I guess that was my OCD-ness of being a freshman, just like, hey, I got tunnel vision. Like, I want to get to here. I'm going to get this work in. But you can't just, I'm going to hit the weight room. Like, get those at bats. Whether it's you got to get down to Lake Point and play the best guys. I'm thinking you're in Ohio there. Like, Colt Emerson got tons of at bats for like 4 years against the best pitch in the country. He went down. He was team elite at Lake Point all the time. It ends up being a first rounder. He's going to have a great career. But like, you got to get out there and play, man. Like, that has to happen.
No, it's the whole 10,000 hours deal, right? It's reps, right? The more you play, the better you're going to be, because along the way, you are going to figure some things out. You're going to fail, and it's going to force you to figure some things out. And that is the beauty of playing in the big events, right? Because there are high-level players there. And when you get to college, man, not every kid is throwing 95, but like, they're all pretty good, right? And so the more that you can acclimate yourself to, okay, this is just the standard. I'm not like, okay, one day we get 76 and one day we get 94. Like, everybody throws hard in college now, right? So the quicker you can accustom yourself acclimate yourself to that, the better you're going to be. And it's the beauty of summer leagues, right? Like the Northwoods League. Like, what a grind that is, right? To go and play 70 games after you played a spring season, but there's no, like, truly, this is not a shill for the Northwoods League, but it's one of the best leagues that there is out there because of the grind, right? If you get through that, man, you can't not get better. You have to have gotten better through 70 games and 200 at bats and the grind of, bus travel and the whole deal. But if you want to be great, those are sacrifices you got to make.
It's, I mean, you're intimately aware of the Northwoods League, and all the leagues are really good. But like, the amount of bats, I still can't get over Charlie Conn. The amount I like dove into, hey, what made this guy so good? And honestly, that freshman year, like, getting that enough of bats, whether it's the summer throughout the season, like, it is imperative to play as a position player to get that work in. Moving forward into a little more on the recruiting side. So we talked about the phone calls. We talked about going out there. Anything else for you that you see, like, even more so, any changes, I guess I would say, that you would make? You are the president of the NCAA. Billy O'Connor is stepping to the board. This is what we're doing. ABCA convention. This is the direction we're going in. I'm going to give you a soapbox for a second if you want to make a statement.
Oh,
I'm really putting you on the spot here, too.
I'm just trying to figure out who I don't want to offend. I don't know what rules I would change. I would just say that the kids should be really thorough in the process. Kids jump into this, and it's a big decision. And it's a big decision on our end, too, to commit time and energy and money to kids. Just do your homework, and obviously this will sound like a shill for Xavier and the smaller schools, but there's a lot of different pathways to be successful. And Xavier's not for everybody, right? But neither is Tennessee, neither is LSU. Go through the process and keep an open mind. And I think the more you do that, those are the kids that I see that land at the right spot, that are really thorough with the process and make sure that they know where they're going, not just from a logo and a uniform standpoint, but the people that are going to be there to take care of them and the resources they have to develop and how experiences have been for kids that have gone to those given schools in the past. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of great programs. There's a lot of places to go that you'll have an unbelievable experience in college. And there's some places that aren't that great, right? And I don't know the ins and outs of every single one, but it does happen. So I'd say just be thorough with the process. It's an intimidating process. It's scary. But also it's not unconquerable. If you're thorough and you do things the right way and utilize your resources and talk to the right people and ask the right questions, I do think that, guys end up at the right spot a lot of times. And I know PBR can be a great resource, right? Not just obviously what you provide from a national level, but a lot of the state directors are really, really involved with kids in their state about helping them through the process. And that's important, and I think they do a great job kind of assisting guys getting to the right spot.
Awesome stuff. That's a promo. We're going to just cut that right there for all our state guys. Send it out there. But Billy, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Talk Xavier baseball, recruiting. One of the top recruiters in the entire country, Billy O'Connor, with one of the bigger growing coaching trees out there as well. So Billy, have a wonderful holiday season. Hopefully we'll see you soon. And until next time, this has been the War Room Recruiting Essentials, New Age Recruiting. I'm Shooter Hunt. We'll see you next time.